Hello, welcome back to a very special pen talk. Thank you for joining me as I explore this amazing, wonderful, incredible wide world of pens that exists. So you see rotating in front of you, being held up by very happy crabs, 3 PenBBS 559s. And you may say, Chris, how did you get 3? Well, a pen pal friend of mine and viewer, Jeff, bought these. But the pistons had a problem, and we'll look at that a little bit later in the video. So he asked me if I could fix it. I tried to work with him to get him to fix it, but he just didn't seem to have that sense. So he sent them to me, and I pretty much understood what the problem was. He sent me a couple pictures to show how the piston just wasn't working as it should. It was coming out of the barrel. The end cap wouldn't unscrew properly to activate the piston, so they needed some tender loving care. Thankfully, I was able to do that and get these 3 in good working order. And I think these are 3 great examples of the 559. And each of them came with a insert which describes the nib and also gives you a particular number, T56 for the blue one. And then we have the red one, which again, there's your nib. And these are all gold nibs, solid 14 karat. And this is a T61. And then the orange one, which is some kind of wood. Again, the nib there. 2 of them are the same, and one of them has a different nib. And this is a T64. And also, as PenBBS is known for, there's an instruction card inside with the pen underneath of that foam insert. And these are in very heavy-duty military-style containers, which I'm not particularly a fan of. They take up a lot of room. They're unwieldy. And, I think they just grabbed some type of box that was available, put the name on it, and put a pen in it. It wasn't designed specifically for this pen. At least that's my theory. So we'll let these twirl around. We're going to look at each of these individually a little bit more closely. Stay tuned. So you may ask, Chris, I really want to get one of these. How do I acquire one? Well, it's not a simple process of just going on to a selling platform, maybe PenBBS official on Etsy. But you need to go onto Etsy and you need to message Bieni and tell her which 559 you would like to purchase. They come in many different barrels. They come in acrylics and they come in wood. And here's some of those colors that are available. So you say which one you want. The prices range from around $350 US now. This is in April, to over $400 if you want a metal barrel, which is one of the other options. And at one time, Bieni did a video where she showed a totally clear one. I'm assuming that is still available, but again, you need to contact her and arrange to purchase one that you want. And shipping apparently is fairly quick. She uses EMS or one of the more reliable delivery systems. So that's how you would acquire one of these if that's what you would want to do. These are good size. They feel great in the hand. They have that, to me, Italian quality feel to them, like Delta and a few of the other companies out there that make pens of similar size and shape and dimensions and also materials. The cap comes off in over 2 turns. It fits nice in the hand. That section feels great, a little bit larger than most PenBBS sections. We'll give you some dimensions so you can keep those in mind. There's a nice ink window, always good to have. The barrel bulges out in the middle, narrows down. You may ask if they post, and the answer is yes, but it makes for a long pen. It's not a secure post, but if you want to put the cap in the back of the barrel, you can do that. But the real star of this pen, in my mind, is the nib. As I shake things around to get things in perspective. Yes, it is a beautiful nib. It's in the calligraphy series. Ebonite feed. And that's, to me, one of the things. So to get a custom ground 14 karat number 9 nib on another pen, you'll probably have to spend a decent more money than you would for this PenBBS pen. If that's something you want to do, then that's an option. I reference a document that I have in the video description about what's going to change on tariffs come May 2nd. This is now April 18th, and who knows what will change. Things seem to be changing in this world quite quickly in regards to tariffs and what they apply to and how they are applied. So I would stay tuned with that. But, you know, it's the world we live in now. Threads feel good. And if you want to fill the pen, you take that blind cap, as shown in the instructions. You turn it this way, to the left or counterclockwise, and that lowers the piston. It's a very smooth operation. And as you can see, there's those flat spots, and you can use an Asvine wrench to remove the piston. And I did do that to restore some of these to working order. And then when you have that nib in ink, you just turn it to the right or clockwise, and it raises that piston, pulls up ink, and you're ready to write. That's how they work. We're just going to do quickly a close-up of these two pens just to get an idea of the resin. Like I said, it's a nice resin. Very consistent design. I'm not a real fan of that pointy end on the finial at the cap or at the bottom of the barrel. Not really certain what the reasonings for that is, other than just something to change that look and the shape of the pen. Looks like a standard PenBBS clip. You have interesting engravings around the cap band. Obviously showing you it's a 559, and that's consistent among all of the pens. In my PenBBS world, I have one other pen that has a kind of a pointy finial. Yes, the cabochon fell out. I don't know where it went. But here, that bottom of the barrel is flat. So that's the way it goes. This is one of those year of pens, and 2024 numbered edition. This is the box the pen comes in. I think there was a cardboard sleeve over there which probably had identification on it, but it latches very securely. And it has this also here, kind of like I say, this looks like a rendition of a miniature munitions box where these are the handles to carry it in. But then you have to unsnap it. The pen sits in this foam tray, kind of like you might put your camera equipment into a box like this. And underneath of the bottom foam is the card identifying the pen and the instruction card. So that's the packaging. And also they were in a little plastic condom. So here I've taken one of the 559s completely apart. And I did that because I want to figure out how's the best way to minimize this piston assembly from unscrewing when you try to use the blind cap to activate the piston. This is a very well made pen, thick walls in the acrylic. You know, those threads in there, which is where this piston collar connects to the barrel. I think for some reason they don't tighten up like they should. This should be a lot more difficult to unscrew than to take the cap off of the end of the barrel to activate the piston. Of course, here's a loose metal collar. Yeah, it's a beautiful acrylic, kind of like a galaxy. And of course, that huge number 9 nib. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how to, how to best set this up. You know, that's the way this fits into here, and you can see it's keyed. So that's one of the things to eliminate the problems with the original 309, that the piston would get stuck because it would turn with the knob. Here it can't because it's keyed into that collar. But what you want to do is you want to have it start so when that cap is all the way down, the piston's all the way up. As you can see, it's going to have to start at a different spot. The other thing I'm going to do is put silicone grease on these threads to reduce the resistance, so when this is all the way tight, it doesn't unscrew. Let's get a little bit better. It doesn't unscrew this collar. So that's my approach. Let's see how well it works. Stay tuned. So Daniel, who's popular on YouTube, does a lot on the PenBBS forum, said that the piston assembly in the 559 is the same as the 495. And this is that famous Asveen wrench, which has been designed to work with a lot of different piston mechanisms. And one of the slots in the side fits that little area just right on the 495. It's the larger of the two. And it also fits well to the 559. So I've adjusted the piston that I think will bring it up. So when the cap has the piston all the way up, the cap is right at the end there. So we're going to assemble it into the pen. I put silicone grease on these threads here to make them nice and smooth, reduce the resistance, and hopefully we won't extract the piston assembly when we try to use the pen. So I didn't quite get it right because there's a little gap there between this cap and the barrel. So I have to take it apart and readjust when I start that piston. Yeah, this is the pain in the ass of pistons. You know, I think this is not the best design I've ever seen. In a a lot of other pistons have a ratchet mechanism, so when you screw all the way down, the ratchet starts letting the piston move smoothly and doesn't let you tighten it down too much, which this one lets you do. So as usual, working on pens is never easy, never simple. So when this blind cap is all the way down, as you can see, the piston is out. There's a gap between that and this ring. If you compare it against this other 559, you'll see that this ring is thicker. And when you put down the end cap, it seals up against that ring, where here it never will seal against the ring. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. The other 559 also has a thick ring and not a thin ring. So we have a challenge here. Well, here's the third 559. Just wanted to show you that the issue, so there's no question about it. You know, this is, you receive the pen. Looks very nice. You try to use the cap to undo the piston, and it just unscrews the whole assembly because the cap is on too tight. And the only way to fix this is to use a gripper here, and it takes a lot of force to finally get it to become loose. And you'll notice this ring is thicker than the ring on the blue one. Yeah, I'm going to fix this one just to prove to myself that I can fix these, and then we'll address the blue one. So I like to document my pen adventures, and since I have these 3 pens to use, it's easy to start comparing things. So this is the piston that came out of that red one that I need to loosen up the cap. But as you can see, as the cap is all the way down, it's at the same spot on this piston collar. So that's as far as it's supposed to go down. And this is the one from the blue one, which has a little gap because of that gold ring is thinner for some mysterious reason. So now this one works well. And I did the same fix that I've done to the blue one. You can see that cap easily moves the piston. And this is, if you put a really strong LED light on it, you can watch the piston go up and down. So that's the nice part. So that turning it this way moves the piston down, and then turning it this way brings the piston back up. Smooth operation. I silicone greased everything just to make certain it stays in good working order. But the blue one just has me frustrated, mystified why that gold ring doesn't work well. So here's these 3 assembled. Pistons work well in all 3. And here the cap and the gold ring are in contact. Here they're in contact, but here they're not, because this gold ring is thinner than this ring and this ring. I can't explain it. I don't know what else to do. I'll send a photo to Jeff and see if Bieni can give us a new ring. This video ran a little long, but I wanted to go into a lot of detail because Jeff has more of these 559s, and hopefully this video will help him try to remedy the problem with the piston. I'm just amazed, disappointed that this pen, very expensive, seems to have a quality control issue, which is not typical of PenBBS. But at least I can send these 3 pens back to Jeff, and they should work well for him. As I said before, you need to contact Bieni through her PenBBS official page on Etsy if you're interested in any of these pens. They come in a variety of colors and everything else, so you need to look on Facebook. Bieni posts there. You can look on the Rainbow Facebook group that Daniel runs, and also on Instagram, just to see if there's one that you might like. I'm not going to write with these nibs. I've written with other of these ground nibs, and they're nice, they're fun. I'm certain this nib is great. I'm certain it's smooth. I'm certain it lays down a nice, generous line with some strokes. And I'm certain it works well for Chinese calligraphy, which is what it's designed to do. So with that, we've reached the conclusion of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have found it to be very interesting. I love being able to look at a new pen. I appreciate being able to look at these pens from PenBBS. Thanks, Jeff, for sending them to me, and hopefully the repair work does well and you can get to enjoy these pens every day. So with that, hopefully this video found everyone safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, exploring the world of pens, as I do, and I share with you. So thank you all for watching. We've reached the end, and we will say bye.